Show you what I've been up to with the LAYZOR, my K40 upgrade. I'm gonna try to do this in English, so hopefully it's not too bad, but I don't want to go through the hassle of having to manually translate everything, so I'll just give it a try. So as you can see, it's almost completely ready. Just the front panel needs to be attached, but I'm still waiting for a new belt. As of this time, there is here at the bottom a belt which I have made from an open belt, and here you can see with pins I made it into a closed loop. It works to a degree, but it's not perfect, so I ordered a closed loop belt and I'm gonna have to install that. So that's why the front panel is not attached yet, but as for the rest, it's almost ready, I think. So let's see what I've been up to since the last video. First of all, but not unimportant, I switched to K40 Whisperer. I got really fed up of the whole laser draw and USB stick setup. So I took the plunge, and in fact it's really intuitive, very easy to use, and I like it. So let's show you the backside of the machine. There's only three things to see here. First is the USB connector for the driver board. Then you have the outlets of the exhaust fan. As you can see, the exhaust fan is encased within the laser case, which I wanted. And then third thing here is the power plug. So that's about it. You also have the feed through hole, as you can see. One of the most important things I addressed since the last video is the Y belting connection system thing. So before there was like a bracket here that went under this rail, and under this rail we had the belts. As you can see now, the belts are next to the rails itself, so it's connected directly onto this extrusion. Because the bracket that was here was flexing way too much, as you could see in the picture of my my first test cut. So same thing over here. The belt is here next to the bearing block. So this way there is no flex whatsoever in the system. So that's one of the major things I did. Because of that, I had to move the Y-axis motor to the backside of the machine. Before it was mounted right about here, but because everything is a little bit higher up now, because of the repositioning of the belts, it was conflicting with the X-axis motor. When it homes, it would conflict, it would touch the Y-axis motor, so I moved it to the back. And also, since it's a little bit higher up, that's actually a good thing, because now the hole, the feed-through hole, can be a little bit larger. Before it was 16 millimeters, and now it's 20 millimeters in height. It's only 4 millimeters, but every bit helps, I guess. I couldn't go larger because, as you see, the exhaust fan casing is getting in the way if I make it even larger. Show you how I mounted this at the front. So here you have the belt bracket. This bracket, before I used the little assembly that was in the stock K40, but as you can see in one of my posts, it conflicted when the belt, like when the machine was coming all the way up here, then it would touch the bracket which was mounted here somewhere. so the belt would touch it and would not move anymore. So then I made this little piece. This bracket is actually the same bracket as this one, so I try to reuse as many pieces as possible, so I don't end up with like 50 different pieces. Try to use every piece for different purposes if possible. So this one I mounted here, and as you can see now, there's plenty of room to have the drag chain not touch it. Same thing at the other side. It's sandwiched between here, but you can see everything is looking good. Some of the other things I did may be minor, but they had to be done nonetheless. So I redesigned, well, redesigning is maybe a big word, but I made some tweaks to all the other plates, just so everything lines up again, because the belts moves, everything had to move a little bit, but I just made some slight tweaks here and there so that all the pieces line up again. This plate of the laser mount, the laser head mount, I made now out of one piece with a bended piece here at the back instead of bolting two pieces together, just so I could limit the number of total parts, which is an ongoing struggle. I also revisited the limit switches. Before I really tried, but I didn't manage to install the correct limit switch on its respective axis. So the Y limit switch was on the X axis and vice versa. Just because when the machine homes, there's a lot of parts here coming together in this corner, and I just couldn't manage to put the correct limit switch in the correct axis. But because of that, I had to do a little modification to the ribbon cable that's in here. I had to switch two wires around, which I thought was a hassle. So I looked for a way to keep the ribbon cable stock, so there's no need for modifying it. And I ended up with a solution, and it's actually a very elegant one. So I have these two Delrin blocks, one here and one here at the bottom. They are exactly the same blocks, I think 20 by 20 millimeters and about 12 millimeters in height, with one hole that mounts here to the extrusion and here to the bearing block. And I just hot glued the PCB of the limit switch to that Delrin block. And last but not least, there is the adjustable adjustable bed. So I couldn't do this before because I was still waiting for the belt and some pulleys. But now everything is installed, so now I can show you how it works. So here we have the jog wheel, which can be hand cranked. So let's show you this. It is made so that if you do one 360-degree turn, the bed moves 1 millimeter. So I'm gonna show you. As you can see, the bed moves up, but of course, yeah, this is okay for adjusting a little bit, but if you have to move something all the way down because you want to place a large object here, there's another way which I incorporated into the design. So in the middle here you have this bolt, and if you have a power screwdriver, you can just do it like this, and the bed moves up or down. So the last things to show you are over on this side. First of all, the electronics bay. It's not ideal because I closed it up already, but as you can see, everything is in here. I tried to clean it up as much as possible. So you have the power supply here at the bottom. There is another power supply for the exhaust fan, which I haven't shown. So let me show you that. I'm gonna turn it on. The machine homes. Okay, and now so we have all the original buttons here. We have an extra emergency stop, and then you have these two buttons. Originally, this one is the to enable the laser, and then this one is a test switch, which works. So I won't do it now. But this one, I felt it was useless because you just always leave it on because you want to use the laser. So I made it so that this button now fires the exhaust fan. So if I press it, the fan turns on and off if I press it again. As for the rest, everything is like in the stock machine. Second thing to show you is the water tank, which is housed here. And if you look closely, you can see the two tubes coming from the laser tube for the water cooling. So that's that. Next update will be testing this machine, and I'm very anxious to see what happens. But I'm sure it's gonna be a success. So see you in the next update. You